Alright everyone, so I've finally unlocked the Deathloop on Wreckfest, so we're going to give that a go today. And you're allowed a B-class car, so I've decided to go for the Rammer. I've softened the suspension slightly because I don't want to bottom out on that loop. I'm thinking that's what could happen. I mean, just fucking look at the size of the thing. Starting off in 19th position, not ideal, but you know, we can make a hell of a lot of places up in this first corner. It's a tightly packed grid, and that's what we do, even with slight mistake. Just caught the curb there with the front wheel, but still managed to hold 8th place, which isn't bad at all. Prefer the takeoff on the right hand side to the left, because you just seem to get shot in the air a hell of a lot more if you take that set of jumps on the left hand side. And here we go, around the Deathloop for the first time. Lots of speed carried through there. You can actually take an alternative route on the left hand side. I don't know if you can see on the minimap there, but I don't know why you'd do that. Spend all that time unlocking the Deathloop and then not even going around it. We're up into 5th position at the end of the first lap, not bad at all. Go a little bit deep into that corner. I wouldn't say we go wide, but because we can still use this section of the track, but I'm sure you'll see how violent you come down off that left hand side. You bounce a hell of a lot more, even with the softer suspension. And I was debating whether, in my own head, whether to go for that bit of the track on the left hand side. I wanted to see if it was quicker, so I decided to leave it for the last lap. We're up into actually in the 1st position. I managed to take 2 people there. I don't know where the other guy was, but heading into the last lap in 1st place. And don't think I actually realised at this point when I was recording this that I was in 1st place, because the last time I'd looked at the position counter I was in 3rd, sorry, and I'd only overtaken 1 car. So I thought I'm going to have to do something a bit different. So I thought if I go left here and follow who I thought was the leader around, and maybe gain a bit of time on him. But even though I missed out the Deathloop, I still came out in 1st place, even though I hadn't caught up to what I thought was the leader. And then kind of made a mistake by doing that, and yeah, crashed. Probably should have spun it round there. Didn't realise how far away I was from the line. I tried to reverse all the way back over, and ended up finishing, I think, about 7th. Yeah, 7th place. So it wasn't fantastic, but I mean, we qualified. Started off a little bit higher up in the grid, 13th spot. I'm not sure how the qualifying is sort of like relative to where you're placed on the grid, on the starting grid for next time. I'm not sure. Anyway, taking the jump section that I prefer on the tighter line, straight up to 2nd from 13th after the 1st corner, which is really good. Now, a hell of a lot of cars still coming through. Straight into the Deathloop for the first time on this race in the semis. And at this point here, you can actually see the people entering the loop. That's what can mess your day up. People going onto the loop as you're leaving, that can, I suppose it could even shoot you back out the wrong way if you hit them wrong. So you do just have to be careful when you're going through there. You can adjust your course as well. You don't have to keep a straight line to get all the way around the Deathloop. I have made adjustments going through it before, and you still keep the same amount of speed. It might scrub a little bit, but you know, you can still get round the loop. Still in 1st spot, pulled out a pretty decent lead actually, 5 seconds already, and entering the Deathloop for the 2nd time. No problems this time around. Had a big enough gap to get me around there before anyone was joining me. And then, same as the 1st race, got T-boned. Well, it was actually me doing the T-boning last time, but we had that big of a lead. Didn't really matter, still had a 5-second lead after that. Still need to work on that 1st corner up. Not great. Ended up going on the bigger jump on the left hand side. And see, the landing just took me right out. for a nice entry on that corner. But the way the cars were flying over the top of me worked quite nicely, none of them going into me as I was going into the Deathloop, so managed to keep my speed up. Just take a nice straight line all the way through there, and round the last bend, I took this very wide in case I got T-boned again, so I can just keep going straight. And first place finish. So it should have been a first place finish in the first race, it wasn't. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if you finish first in this one, to be honest. It's all about the final. And that's what we're going to go straight into now. It's nice to start first, actually. Going into the first corner, I was a bit worried about getting rear-ended and maybe spun out, so took it real conservative going through there. But I mean, once I'd made it through there, it was pretty much plain sailing. I just didn't want to hit anyone going back on myself after this corner. I did use a different technique after the loop. That could have knocked my speed a little bit. Just making it around the loop that time. That guy, that number 68 in the car next to me, had a lot more speed going around the loop. But decided to use the jump on the inside of this hairpin, if you like, this long left-hander. And it worked fairly well, so I decided that for the rest of the race I was just going to use that. I don't know why I didn't use it for the first 2 races, to be honest. But yeah, definitely a tip for you there. If you play the game, just, you know, stick to the inside on that second left-hander and use the jump. You won't get T-boned. Got pit manoeuvre there, so it really took some speed out my sails. Ended up going for the route on the left hand side. Quite smooth actually going into there. I don't think I lost any time. I think it's roughly about the same amount of time if you want to go around the loop or if you want to take that alternative route. And to be honest, it's, you know, it's 6 and 2/3s. You could crash into someone coming in the loop when you're going off it, or vice versa. If you're going into the loop, you could get hit by someone exiting. But you could also just get sideswiped if you take the route around the left. I didn't see that guy who'd been wrecked at the side of the track, so ended up dropping down to 2nd place after I hit him, but didn't take long for 1st place to get swiped out. It was just a case of keeping it tight. Took a bit of a high line there, just to get a run up on the jump. And it was at about this point I thought, get in, I'm home and dry. I finally won a 1st place finish on the Deathloop. Well, say finally, it's the first time I played it, but then that's when I realised, well, that's when I should have realised I was only on lap 3 out of 6. And, yeah, pulled the handbrake over the finish line, didn't I? Thinking, oh yeah, I'm done, but still 3 laps to go, so luckily I pulled out a pretty decent gap, but still got overtaken for 1st place. So I had to put my head back down again and just keep going. Luckily I've been quite smooth on this track and I knew sort of where to go to keep out of trouble. Just sticking with the loop rather than going around that other section. Just have to take care on the minimap, I guess, and just sort of judge where the people are on the track at the time. And just use this jump. I mean, I probably would have been swiped by one of those guys crossing the figure of 8 sort of section of the track. But if you just use the jump, you're miles better off. So we're a lap and a half away now from the finish, and got a couple of seconds on the guy in 2nd place. Very close to that guy coming off the jump. But it felt like it was going to be like plain sailing from here. And it should be, really. I mean, I had a decent first half of the race and I managed to make a pretty big fuck up by deciding to, final lap, I decided to handbrake turn over the final bloody, over the line. But I kind of redeemed myself by driving quite well in the 2nd half of the race and ended up going into this this Deathloop for the final time, quite enjoying myself. And it was when I got to roughly about this far around the loop, that I noticed that this little geezer was having a bit of trouble either getting on or exiting the loop. So I just switched my path up a bit, because otherwise I would have just T-boned the shit out of him. And yeah, apart from that, there was no dramas on the last lap. It was just a case of home and dry. There we go, finally finished for the second time in one race. And yeah, fairly convincing race there. It was I enjoyed it. Thought it was really good. First place, best lap as well. Can't complain. Unlocked a few things. And full marks as well, which is what you always want. Now, if you want to see more content like this, there's plenty more on my channel, and you can always subscribe to it if you really enjoyed it. So I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Bye.